So thanking Kevin and you guys, the organizers, for putting together this platform for us to engage. So I come a long way with the space industry, and I'm gonna give you a presentation outline, and it will really address the opportunities that are coming up over the horizon in space for Africa's youthful population. As you know, we live in a continent with 55 countries, 1.3 billion people, 420 million of whom are aged between 10 and 35. So I will share with you what I've done when I was 10 to 35, so it can help guide today's generation on what to do. So we will explore, space exploration and the development in Africa. I will address the great economic migration, and that is the South African 10-year innovation plan. That really was a definitive document that the government has put out there. It has really driven me and my efforts to reach for the stars. African Agenda 2063, which is today's African strategic planning document. If you are not talking African Agenda 2063 and you are in Africa, you are misplaced. The youth demographic dividend is the great promise there. And so we have a launch window. And sustainable development goal number 4 truly is the focus of my energy in life. That is why I am at the Space Agency, to address that through the opportunity space makes available. And I wrote a book which I give away free. I don't sell it. I don't need the money to sell. I just want to make a contribution. And that book is dedicated to the young people of the African continent, following my own journey, which some of you will have glimpses into today. And we see African billionaires in space. We see billionaires throughout the world. And I'm deliberately putting African billionaires in space because space is a business. The human mandate, as we aspire to become a multi-planet species, and we need to migrate a huge part of our continent's people from being consumers of products and services and innovations developed elsewhere to becoming the producers of it. People are waiting in the lobby. Okay, no, that's fine. I'm sure you are dealing with that. I won't have to worry about that. And we will talk about the career opportunities that are available. And I will share, it's more than 10 lessons, but from my 20 years in the space industry, I've learned a few things. And the theme for this year's World Space Week was Women in Space. So without wasting time, let me go through the slides that I've prepared. You know what is very exciting for me is that we live on a satellite that is spinning around its axis as it orbits around the big source of energy we call the sun, 150 million kilometers away. So in this slide, what you really see are some of the key studies that SANSA is involved in. The sun, the earth, and the global space community is involved in getting us to become a multi-planet species by establishing a village on Mars. Anybody who's alive at this time should really be very grateful, because many have died hoping to see this with their eyes. In your lifetime, the young people of today, you're gonna see this. So until 1957, on the 3rd of October, planet Earth only had one satellite. Only one, the natural satellite called the moon, from where you can see this planet for what it truly is, hanging in deep, dark space. Fragile planet, no Africa, no Europe, no America, no China, no Australia. No, so all of what you see there is a planet that is home to over 9 billion people. Fragile, requiring all of us to put our hands on deck as we are mandated to really become the managers of this planet, its environment, and its surrounding ecosystems. So Genesis chapter 1, Sputnik 1 is launched, 81 kilogram satellite. I deliberately left it blank because I left you to fill in the gaps. That's the 4th of October. And if I have interviewed a couple of older people than myself who have been there, and they tell me that on that day when it was launched in South Africa, the CSIR was tracking that satellite, and people were surprised that South Africa has that kind of capability back in the 1950s. So we have had this rich space heritage for 50 years of space from 1960 to 2010. I was only born in 1976. So a brief background of the history. Of course, America wanted to establish Minitrack, and Esalen Park became the place where South Africa offered it. And 2 years later, it moved to Hartbeespoort. And NASA operated from Hartbeespoort from 1960 to 1975, and we were supporting all of those early NASA missions, the Apollos, including the landing of the man on the moon. It was supported from South Africa. In 1963, there is the 12-meter parabolic dish antenna that to this day is still alive. So when we are open, currently we are closed due to COVID considerations. When we are open, I can't wait to really welcome you young people who can, if you are in the Gauteng area, to really come and experience space in the most diverse satellite ground station on Earth from a commercial frequency bands perspective. So the history continued after NASA terminated in 1975, and of course the CSIR took over, and the first Meteosat image was received in 1977. But of course, 5 years earlier in 1972, the first Landsat satellite image was received. And today we are sitting on top of petabytes and petabytes of data. In fact, in 2022, we are celebrating 50 years of this land surface imaging satellite, the longest serving in history. Of course, it's not one satellite, it's one after the other. And currently, Landsat 8 is orbiting the Earth. And scientists at SANSA continue to use it. And I'm saying SANSA, but I know that Landsat archives have been open, and it's thousands, if not millions of images that are used across the world. The economic benefit is incalculable. So right there is one opportunity I'm sharing with you. So if you are into the downstream value chain of space, you are sitting on gold, because governments all throughout the world want to deliver services. In February this year, I was privileged to be driving the celebration of 22 years of South Africa as an African spacefaring nation. Since that launch of the 64-kilogram SANSAT satellite by NASA in the West Coast at Vandenberg Air Force Base. And we were privileged to have Wanda Harding, who used to be at NASA and now is a school teacher. And Professor Sias Mostert was there, who was there from the very early days. And, you know, whenever I get to interact with these legends, I want to tap their brain and ask them about the opportunities, how space has evolved and how things are today. And of course, the only other gentleman there is the CEO of SANSA, Dr. Val Munsami himself, the man who's promising us as a space industry a very bright future with billions and billions of rands that are going to be invested through the Space Infrastructure Hub. Things that are going to enable us to do and to fully meet the mandate that this agency, this great agency, was established to actually meet and unlock value, deliver services, and create innovations, as well as capture a global market share of space science and technology. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my personal journey into space science and technology. So I'm a rural boy. I come from a rural farm in Limpopo, Bochum. It's known as Snobarwana. And I went to a boys only boarding school run by Catholic missionaries there between 1989 and 1993. So I am the last person in the group of the last matriculants during apartheid. And 1994, I wasn't 18 years old, so I couldn't vote. University of the North, today it's called University of Limpopo. And I did my undergrad there, NQF level 7, and then my honors in physics. And in 1999, the year SANSA was launched. This was an opportunity for me because government was running what we call a catalytic human capital development project called the Institute for Satellite and Software Applications. That was in Grabo, and it was done in collaboration with local and international universities like Stellenbosch University, that is my alma mater. I went through Stellenbosch, and I was recently there as part of a space documentary that we were putting together, elements of which I will reveal through this presentation, following the journey of me and another young man who came into the space industry after the establishment of SANSA. So I've been with the Department of Communications. I was stationed at Denel Overbeck Test Range, the only place in South Africa where a rocket has successfully been launched into outer space. And of course, I worked there. I traveled the world. And then 2008, I came to Pretoria. I was with the CSIR and the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites. I'm still actively involved there in the capacity building working group of it. I'm a capacity building man through and through. I really believe in human capital. So as we talk about the knowledge economy, the center of the knowledge economy are the innovations that human beings will bring out through, use of the intellectual capital that we carry between our ears. So we are truly blessed to be alive. And so one of the things I want to alert you to is that I'm no ordinary scientist. Along my journey, I have studied entrepreneurship intensely. So I am an entrepreneur myself. I'm an investor, and I have skills that make me put me in the top 3% of income earners in the world, because I earn money through multiple sources. I don't earn it through only employment. I earn money in multiple ways. I'm a wealth creator, and I have always had a dream to be a billionaire, and I think that I am tuned into that frequency. And this is what excites me about being here today. And of course, I did my business studies at Regenesis Business School, thanks to SANSA sponsoring us to develop that management competency in us. And today we are predicting the future. And I guess the best way to predict it is to create it. And this is what I believe. Now, this is me in the black t-shirt over there with my colleagues at the honors. And in those days, the promise was I wanted a job, nothing else. Like all students at university, I wanted a job. So the opportunity at ESA, I saw it as an opportunity for me to go get a skill and move on to industry, because I had been in school from 1982. So it's 19 consecutive years, and and you come from an African family. We don't come from infinite deep pockets. So you need to work so you can put bread on the table and stop asking parents for money. So ESA really became the great opportunity, and I found myself at Stellenbosch University in the year 2000, where students have more cars than lecturers. It was a unique phenomenon. I had never come across that in my whole life in Tefloop. Lecturers had more cars at Tefloop, but at Stellenbosch, student parking is bigger than the lecturers' parking. Okay, and that was a paradigm shift for a rural boy. So this was a government of South Africa, the democratic government, the government of the people, for the people, by the people, investing in young talent on the promise that we will one day grow up and become key contributors to South Africa's economic journey and enrich the lives of other Africans who just need those opportunities, just like we did when we were just beyond teenage age. One of the key lessons I've learned from that investment was this: government invested in me. If that's all I did, then I would just be a mere beneficiary of the government investment, an intervention by the government to put me at a university my parents could not afford. Okay, so I had to reciprocate after I started working to say, government invested in me, let me invest in myself, because Warren Buffett is the one who said the greatest investment you can ever make is an investment in yourself, and the return on investment is infinite. So I learned about satellites from people who were involved in building SANSA, South Africa's first orbiting satellite. South Africa's first satellite is GreenSat. It was never launched, 330 kilograms. In this building, it is there in Grabo, but you need some clearances to get in there. Not everybody can get in. It's a highly secure place and is part of the military establishment in South Africa. The man you see there is the man who received a young man fresh from university. His name is Herman Steenkamp. He remains my mentor. I recently had this was taken in July 2021. I was there to interview him as part of the space documentary following the unique journey of a rural boy from humble beginnings in Limpopo all the way to the Western Cape, 2,000 kilometers away from home. And this man taught me how to use the parabolic dish antenna to track the 10-meter antenna at Overberg Test Range, the satellite ground station, to track low Earth orbiting satellites. And this gave me confidence, and I really was enjoying that work. Highly repetitive work, but I was enjoying it, and I was enjoying watching the physics and the mathematics in application through that environment. So in 2002, I was inspired by Mark Shuttleworth. I mean, Mark, I had the opportunity to be among those who were able to communicate with Mark through the live link at ESA that was established to be able to give us that opportunity to experience. I had no idea what, outer space exploration was. It was early days. And remember, all I wanted was a job. So Mark Shuttleworth inspired me. He planted the seed of entrepreneurship in me in a way. And of course, Robert Kiyosaki came along later through a book that I credit for changing my life, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I started entertaining the idea that I could become something other than just a science graduate with a job. I wanted to become a captain of industry and to be able to enjoy life in abundance. And that is precisely what I set out to do. And today, I believe I have achieved my dream with only bigger dreams to unfold in the unfolding universe lying dormant within me. So shortly after we spoke to Mark, I was sent to Australia to go and study something called space weather forecasting. And space weather forecasting, we went to ionospheric prediction services. At the time, it was felt this capability needed to be established in South Africa. So we went to study as a team of 3, and we spent 2 to 3 months there in Sydney. And it was my first international trip. We left South Africa at night. We arrived in Australia at night. I thought it took 24 hours, but the time zone issue was beginning to deal with me. So when we came back, I was the delegate to present the ideas to President Thabo Mbeki, Mr. Vuk'uzenzele himself. Wake up and do it for yourself. At that time, after that, I thought I have arrived. You know what? I can die now because I think I have met the state president. It was critical intervention. It created something of an interest in something else for me. Until then, it was science for science's sake. But as the president was there and engaging, I began to realize something else unfolding, the economic side. And remember, he is the economist. So I started to try now to blend the economic side because, Africans, we are good employees. We've traditionally become minders of other people's businesses, and I was ready to embrace the idea that I could create my own businesses. So my journey really in the space value chain, I've navigated it from the engineering side I was introduced to at Stellenbosch University, and moved on to the satellite ground station, and the engineering side, of course, is the upstream. This is the popular side where you see rockets launching satellites into outer space and astronauts going into outer space. So all part of that upstream element, and that is what the media is largely interested in. Then I got to the satellite ground station, which is what we call the midstream part of the value chain. So the satellite ground station is where the interface is between the space infrastructure and the ground-based infrastructure. And ultimately, of course, what comes out of that is products and data and services that are destined for those who will consume them directly and or add value to that for subsequent users down the value chain until the real economic value is created to unlock socioeconomic benefits. So satellite ground station, I'm very grounded in that environment. And of course, the space science element is my stint in Australia, and I haven't applied that skill set actively. So it enriches my engagements with young people today because that is primarily my job at the space agency. But I'm now based at the Earth observation, where we collect information about the entire Earth system, the land, the oceans, and the atmosphere. And so at the center of the space value chain, the driver of space are human needs. So we must never forget and think that we are in space for space's sake. We are there to address basic needs of humans, to give people the opportunity to dream and dream big, so-called reaching for the stars, to inspire a generation. So it begins with you and me. And for me, at the center of it all is the capability of space to stimulate multidisciplinary thinking. It is unparalleled in that respect. You know, you look around, you are likely to see the earth as flat. You are likely to fall for the same trap that good old Aristotle fell for back in the day and believed that the earth was the center of the whole scheme of things and that the moon, the sun, and all the other wanderers were in perfectly circular orbit around a fixed and moving earth. But when you inquire using the scientific inquiry method, you begin to realize that things are not always what they seem. In fact, you yourself are not what you appear to be. So we will get to that towards the end. So space operations really was the crux of my early career. Although I was in the southwestern Cape, far away from home in Limpopo. Today I live in Gauteng, and space operations was the host to that International Space Operations Conference that I wrote a paper for. And that paper, of course, is going to be published in the book by Springer in the spring of 2022. I look forward to sharing that with as many people as possible. And it gave me great pleasure to see that me and the only other African guy were the only two people from Africa. Everybody else was from different parts of the world. And with that, I would like to say, young people, you went to school not knowing how to write. You knew how to speak. You now have a skill called writing. He who can write but does not write is no better than he who cannot write. So I encourage you, part of your career opportunities is to document. It is to document your thoughts, your ideas, your research, and publish it. Be in the habit of doing that so that you are able to impact other people's lives and your work can reach beyond your geographic space and the social networks that you are directly connected to. You can be a global citizen by so doing. And of course, in my days of tracking satellites, one of the things I looked forward to was to see Southern Africa for who she really is. I mean, I knew all the landmarks and I saw them through the moving window display. And this was the most exciting part of being in the space industry for me. I mean, the Etosha pen, Mahadi salt pen, and I've had to drive. Remember, I'm married to a Botswana, so my wife is a judge in Botswana. So I've lived in different parts of Botswana. I've driven past Mahadi salt pens, and I stopped there just to take a breath to say, wow, wow, wow. So this is what it looks like in real life compared to what it is on a satellite image, on a moving window display. And so these are some of the excitement of being in the space industry. Along the way, I have had to ask myself, who exactly am I? Because somewhere around 2003, I lost my parents. I think that life was going to end for me. And I had to ask questions that were not in textbook. Who am I? And I started to inquire. I read books. Today, my house is full of libraries. I'm a reader, and I'm encouraging young people to become readers so that they can become leaders. Look, somebody took their time, largely very successful people, and they put their ideas and thoughts and recipes in books. And for us to read, to enjoy, and to consume for our benefit. So I've read books. I continue to read books. My favorite book is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I recommend it, in which he says, we are not just physical beings with occasional spiritual experiences, but we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. For my father, it was 1932 to 2003. 71 precious years. For me, it's 1976 to God knows when. So I live every day of my life as if it's my last. I love like I've never been hurt. And I take every opportunity as it comes. And the greatest opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, I put it categorically on record, is not in outer space. The greatest opportunity is lying dormant within us. And I'll share that in the lessons that I've prepared for you. The best career book I have ever read is by a man named Robert Kiyosaki, Cash Flow Quadrant. You see, at the space agency, I get paid to mind the government's business in outer space. I don't own a space business. I mind the government's business in outer space. And so from my education, I was programmed to work for money, which means I inherit a partner called SARS. I work hard and SARS gets paid at the end of the month. I thought somehow this is not such a good idea, but this is how 96% of the world's population earns its money. And we are programmed with that idea. I want to introduce you early while you are at universities, young people, to say working for money is the worst way to earn it, because that makes you a slave and money the master. I encourage you to entertain the idea of becoming the master that you were created by God to be. And you work, money works for you, you become the master, and you use mathematics and investing, which is the science of money making money, to understand the growth rates and to understand how you can control money so that it is your servant rather than your master. So I have learned, there's a lot of stories, but I know time will not allow me to go deep into that. And then, of course, 2008, I came to join the mighty CSIR, the largest research organization in Africa. And at the time, we had over 2,000 employees. I don't know about today, but I would imagine it's similar to that. In fact, from what I read and hear from people who were there during the apartheid era, it used to have over 7,000 people back in the day. And I just find it fascinating. So CSIR was the springboard for me to learn the international space industry through the Committee on Earth Observation Satellite that became the space arm of the Intergovernmental Group on Earth Observation. And being in the Earth Observation Division today, I can tell you that Earth observation is one of the biggest untapped opportunities for young people to realize your dreams. And you don't have to wait until you graduate, because Earth observation is very practical. And the apps and the information, the world in the palm of your hand is finding itself through apps into your smartphone. And increasingly, the way we were taught things without this information, I'm sure that the teacher of today has a lot of tools to teach mathematics, to teach natural science, physical science, geography. And geography teachers are my favorite because they are addressing a very critical part of the Earth observation value chain. Now, in 2008, government published the 10-year innovation plan, the document that I credit with inspiring me to really blend my job with my dream of an African entrepreneur, an African billionaire who changed the world by changing himself. The 10-year innovation plan really challenged us to create a globally competitive economy. And you know, traditionally, the three main players in an economy are the government, and they are a big player in space. Governments throughout the world, agencies of governments are part of the members of CEOs and many other bodies. Businesses and households. I'm playing in all three because I am working with the government. Dr. Ivy Matsapola, my minister at communication, said to me, "You don't work for government, young man. You work with government. It's just that you work with government from within government. But if you leave the government, you can work with the government from outside the government." That was one of the richest career lessons I've learned from a politician. I will never forget that. And she sponsored me into the space industry. Global exposure, and of course, Kevin was there on one of those days. I've met many astronauts, men and women. I've met astronauts. I've met my favorite astronaut is Dr. Charlie Bolden, Major General Charlie Bolden. For many reasons, he looks like me. He gave me permission to dream. I first met him in 2011 when SANSA hosted the International Astronautical Congress in Cape Town. And I also met Leland Melvin and, of course, Jan Werner, former, I think he was the director of European Space Agency. So space industry exposed me to the world. I've traveled to all the continents except Antarctica. And of course, this is in Germany at the IAC with Dr. Munsami there, at the heads of agencies interacting with young people. This is the International Student Zone. And at the time, I was playing the role of head of education of the representing SANSA on the International Space Education Board. And these are young people who are asking questions you are asking today. What is the future? What are the opportunities? Where is South Africa going with space after so many years of being supporter to other people's businesses and missions in outer space? What is facing Africa as challenges today, and where is it taking us? These are the sort of platforms you want to connect to and be part of, because that's where the future space missions are discussed. And this is the largest gathering of space professionals in the world. And so SANSA was really created, my friends, to promote the use of space and strengthen cooperation in space-related activities, while fostering research in space science, advancing scientific engineering through developing human capital outreach projects that I am looking after, and supporting industrial development in space technologies, those businesses, those entrepreneurial ideas that are becoming part of the economy of space, Africa's burgeoning economy. We are headquartered in Pretoria. We have a division in Hermanus, Space Science, and in Hartbeespoort, the satellite ground station. That's SANSA Space Operations. So engineering, Earth observation, and the head office are co-located here in Pretoria at the Innovation Hub. I am at the Earth observation division, where we use satellites to collect information, and we are sitting with petabytes of data, and we are inviting you as students to come up with innovative ways to use this archived data to extract valuable information and business intelligence, and help those who are in decision making to develop decision support tools that will empower them to make decisions based on scientifically sound data. So today we are sitting with heavy plethora of satellites, remote observing systems that can extend our visibility beyond visible spectrum, which is basically getting into other parts of the frequency spectrum and allowing us to see phenomena that would otherwise stay hidden from our vision. So satellites are really powerful, and as evidence providers, they are critical. We have a colleague at SANSA here who goes to court to provide evidence. So decisions on economics are taken on the basis of evidence that is provided by satellites in Earth orbit, both in low Earth orbit, medium Earth orbit, and geostationary Earth orbit, that provides direct to home television. We also use satellites to monitor our oceans, and this is one of the biggest opportunities in blue oceans economy, where jobs of young South Africans and Africans are going to be unlocked through us exercising dominion over our fish of the sea, fowl of the sky, and camel of the field. So we are truly blessed to be in the space industry, And the true value of is not in the data itself, the raw imagery, but it is in the derived information. It is in the value-added products, the development of geo-information-based maps. And I know Mrapula Mashalani is on this platform. I hope others of my colleagues are here who are key users and thematic leads in human settlements, in disaster management, in water management, in food security, vegetation studies, Dr. Lerato, atmospheric studies. So these are young Black Africans. We're talking about human capital development that will soon transform into industry development. If I was to say I've learned one lesson from Charlie Bolden, was the retiring of the shuttle that has positioned American private industry today to be the provider of some of the groundbreaking services from outer space. Everybody has heard of Elon Musk. Everybody knows he was once the richest man on earth for a few days. And who doesn't want to be in that position? Now, I'm closing with the key lessons that I've learned during my 20 years in the space industry. One, space is a business with producers and consumers. We've largely been the consumers of products developed elsewhere. We are changing that slowly but surely. So I am not in the space business, but I get paid to mind the South African government's space business. All right. SANSA is an agency of the government of South Africa. And so my journey into the space industry, I believe, holds the key to the realization of the African youth demographic dividend in aspirations of the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. We are sitting on this gold called the youthful continent. How do we transform our youth into the Dan Matsapolas of the future who are excited about the prospect of becoming the producers rather than the consumers? There's a huge need for space, for quality space education in Africa. Quality by those who have experience in using space to unlock value. No fake teachers. And Robert Kiyosaki wrote a fantastic book you want to read called Fake. So I have infinite capacity to help grow the African economy through my life example as a space professional, and I'm a role model to many. So space science and technology is very practical science, increasingly finding itself in the palm of the average African's hands, helping us to make sense of our world. What's needed is for the skills on how to use what's already there. Space science and technology is a vital tool for supporting all the 6 human mandates. I believe we are on this earth to exercise dominion over the fish of the sea, fowl of the sky, camel of the field, and anything that creeps on the surface. We are put here as species number 1 to provide leadership and to lead even the lion and the eagle, who are leaders in their own categories. Management becomes critical. As you know, our earth is fragile and it needs to be managed. And everything that you poorly manage, it progressively dies. Everything that you manage very well progressively grows. And I'm the king who reigns over an empire that is ever expanding because I'm a good manager. I've taken lessons in management. We all need to study management. We need to produce qualities of good management and adhere to the highest standards. The production mandate becomes critical. We are not consumers just to consume. We consume to produce. We eat so we can have energy and use that energy to create value. Multiplication mandate is really at the center of my life. I used to earn 100,000 a year, and I set a goal to earn 100,000 in a month, and I achieved it 4 or 5 years ago. And today I'm teaching other people how to do the same because it is so liberating. And of course, the service mandate is one of the values at SANSA, of course. Space science and technology is unparalleled in stimulating multidisciplinary thinking to transform the lives of African youth. It forces you to think differently, not to take things at face value. Humans, I believe, are the ultimate frequency machines, and Albert Einstein gave it to us. He said everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get the reality, that reality. It can be no other way. He said, this is not philosophy, this is physics. So I truly believe that physics and mathematics hold the key to us understanding ourselves, our environment, and to be able to drive our goals to becoming a multi-planet species. And I'm passionately involved in that promotion of mathematics and science as exciting subjects for enriching not just our knowledge and science, but our economy too. Let me quote Napoleon Hill after I quote my favorite astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who said, we are as complex as the universe because there is an entire universe within us. And I added, waiting to be discovered, explored, and exploited to whatever ends we desire. Young people, an educated person is not necessarily one with an abundance of general or specialized knowledge. This is Napoleon Hill. Think and Grow Rich. An educated person is one who has so developed the faculties of their mind that they can go out and get whatever they want or its equivalent without violating the rights of other people. So we live in the 21st century where the illiterate are not those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Look at the cell phone. 1999, my first cell phone. Today, it's a converged environment. I cannot use the knowledge and skills of 1999 to operate the advanced machinery that I sit with, that is actually a robot in the fourth industrial revolution. Dr. John Maxwell says, culture is 100 to 1 more important than vision. So culture is what we do every day. As students, we develop habits. Those habits will lead to futures, according to L. Nightingale. There are many career opportunities that are available, many, at SANSA and outside of SANSA. I would say, don't aim to work at SANSA necessarily. Work with SANSA as a professional, as a developer of products and services. Work through SANSA, working with government, providing those innovative applications that government needs to provide better service delivery. And then you contribute to the transformation of the South African space industry to be more representative of the demographics. That is what I would say to you young people, to say, we don't need more employees, we need entrepreneurs. And of course, this is my job. And Kevin will remember this, because I really believe that for us to realize the African youth demographic dividend, we need to do what Kevin has done here. Bring captains of industry to inspire the next generation. And after Charlie Bolden takes his flight back to United States, Dan Matsapola and Kevin Naidu will be here and SEDS to continue nourishing those dreams every single day as living examples of inspiration on steroids. And of course, I myself would like to say, for us to excite young people, we ourselves must be excited. So I have a dream. I'm 45. By age 50, I don't think I will go to space. I am going to outer space, definitely. Not if the sun rises or if Ramaphosa is re-elected, but I'm going to outer space because I have decided to go. Come rain or shine, I am going. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I will close with this one from Albert Einstein, my favorite scientist of all time. Thank you very much. We can now take questions and answers that are more specific.
Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, as Dan has said, before we let you all go, we'll go into the Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to type in the chat, raise your hand, or unmute yourself and speak. I see we've question from Tutor. Please, Tutor, go ahead.
Good day, everyone. Good day, Dan. Really appreciated this event. It's amazing, truly inspiring, and you've really fed that energy into me right now. So thank you so much for that. I just have a question. so I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I really love space. I just love everything with regards to space, and I have a very keen interest in rocket engineering. Do you think that Africa has some potential in maybe the medium to long-term future to have like a launch service system at any point in South Africa or maybe in the continent? Do you think that is possible? Just want to get your verdict on that. Thanks.
Thank you for that question. And Kaiser Moroka, if he was on this platform, he would tell you that he's providing a lot of millions of rands to Durban University of Technology to develop that capability. And it was tested at the only place in South Africa where rocket has ever been launched. So that capability is progressively being developed. We are currently using other people's platforms. I mean, we've launched from different parts of the world, America, Russia. But in the long haul, we are going to attain independence and help other African countries attain space transportation systems that can launch the future missions of Africa. So definitely there's a long-term vision to have launch capability.
Okay, thank you so much. Really gives me hope. Sorry, can you give me that person's name? The one who's investing in the
It's the
Durban.
Department of Science and Innovation, the government of South Africa. So they are investing heavily. We will share. Visit Durban University of Technology and look at the rocket development that is happening there.
Yeah.
Very recently, they tested it, and I think it reached a new record of 18 kilometers, and they're continuously improving. So it is constantly going towards that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. I'll definitely check it out.
All right.
So, thanks.
Thank you, Benedict. Question? Let's go.
Can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Dan. He's very he's essentially full of energy, as he said. He has everything. I just and I also want to say I also love the book by Stephen Covey. It's a very great book. It's the 7 steps of being a very effective person. Yes, I just want to go back to, I think you actually spoke about studying an honors in physics, and you went to work at the Stellenbosch. What was your work like? What were you actually doing besides your skills?
Stellenbosch is where I studied. So I have 3 postgraduate, honors equivalent degrees, basically. Stellenbosch is where I got my second. Physics is my first at University of the North, University of Limpopo today. Stellenbosch is where I studied satellite engineering, really where I got introduced to the space industry in depth. And then my first job was at a satellite ground station that was rented by the Department of Communications at Denel Overbeck Test Range. So I was tracking satellites for the government, Earth Resources Satellite. That means remote sensing satellites. And the data, we were delivering it to remote sensing scientists. And they were trying to develop applications from that. Today, that work is happening in the SANSA Earth Observation Division. I think you are muted, yeah.
Yeah, you have to.
Sorry. Yes, and also one other thing, during your study with satellites, did you come across the Van Allen belts, like the Van Allen belts, and how they affect satellites?
They can send a $1 billion satellite spinning uncontrollably into outer space because they are a big risk and they need to be avoided by those who are launching into space. So yeah, no, Van Allen radiation belts were key part of the space lessons. We had to understand radiation and how it works.
Yes. And is it possible if we can reach you through any channel, be it email? Because I personally need some guidance. I think you lead me to where I really want to go. So is it possible we can reach you via email or anything?
Yeah, Dan Matsapola is my name. So dmatsapola@sansa.org.za would be my email address. So have a conversation with me. And if it's outside my comfort zone, I'll direct you to the right people who can help you with the specifics of your requirements. Definitely. I look forward to that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. That's all from me.
Okay.
Thank you. I think we can take one more question. If there's anyone with a question, I'm trying to see if the chat is open. Okay, Siyabonga, and then Gideon afterwards. Let's go.
Hello, Dan.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question here. Let us say someone is interested in joining an NCSB team. Like which part to take? Is it a physics part or a maths part? If you wanna reach that point to be NTSB investigator, things like that. Like if you wanna solve this complex problem, or you find by a airline has trash somewhere, and then you have to like figure out what happened.
NCS, you said an acronym there. What does that mean?
NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board.
Oh, that's outside my comfort zone. I really don't know. But I understand that you probably need to talk to guys who are involved in things like ATNS and Civil Aviation Authority. But yeah, I personally don't know the answer to that. If somebody else on this platform does, please provide Siyabonga with that information. I don't currently have that information.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And
Gideon?
sorry, may I please interject once more? Are there any outreach programs that SANSA has to reach to people from rural areas who cannot actually access the space industry at a very fundamental level, like knowledge-based and career export and things like that?
Wow, you are talking to the king of space awareness right here. So if there is a rural area in South Africa, trust me if I tell you that I have been there. If I haven't, please put me to the test, and my team, we are up for that challenge. Outreach is key part of SANSA's mandate to stimulate interest in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That is part of the space agency's business.
Okay, then I think I'll have to be in contact with you then, because I think you can start from where I come from, because I don't remember SANSA ever coming to our career expos at school. We only had the CSIR, so SANSA never came.
Oh wow! Okay,
we
are for the challenge. We are
yes,
up
and I really wanted SANSA to come. I'm like, where's SANSA? Where's the SARA, or the radio astronomy? Like, they never came.
Where is that? Where is your home?
It's at Northwest. It is a village called Barking. Barking. Macau.
I've seen your adverts. No. We will be there. Invite us. We will be there. If we can't be there physically, we can do virtual sessions if you are open for that, because we are doing both.
Yes, I think I'll actually contact you. Then we'll go on further on that. Because there's a need for space, stamina and esteem there.
Definitely.
Let's take one more question from Gideon, and I'll call it a night. Gideon, please go ahead. Gideon, are you still here? I think you might be muted if you're speaking right now.
Oh, yes. I wanted to thank Dan for the wonderful presentation that he gave us. It was very insightful. I find out to say Dan has been working with SANSA for quite a long time, and he has had quite interesting experiences in the space activity. What opportunities are available for students in universities outside South Africa?
Opportunities available to students outside South Africa are endless. If you are in Zimbabwe, there's a new space agency, and there's a new building that was unveiled, and there is a satellite that's going to be launched. Oh, SANSA, I think, is going to create wonderful waves for a lot of young Zimbabweans who are talented, and we've worked with many of them here at the space agency, at the different parts of the space agency. I personally know a professor at WITS who was the research and applications development manager. So opportunities galore. I don't think that opportunities care very much where you come from. And of course, even in the square kilometer array, the partner countries in the continent of Africa, for the part that South Africa won, oh my goodness, I think that the opportunities are just endless, endless, endless. It's a question of get ready, deliver the goods in terms of being aligned with the organization you want to work with, core mandate, and then whenever opportunities are advertised, apply and see what happens, because opportunities are galore and skills in particular areas are in short supply. So those critical skills, we need them met regardless of where you're from. And yeah, I'm sure South Africa is a great opportunity for many people to be, whether it's Western Cape or Gauteng, everybody wants to be part of this big African economy.
Awesome, thank you. I don't know if you have time. I don't want to leave Lesecha here's hand up.
I will allocate additional 10 minutes because yeah, I really enjoy sessions with young people.
Awesome. So Lesecha, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, Dan. Lesecha Magoba here.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the time invested. I'm also from Limpopo, also been through Danal, done quite a bit of work with Kaven. My major interest is trying to find a way to prevent the space industry continuing to be an enigma. And I find some of the challenges is that with Treasury as well as with SEDS SA, we don't have any allocated SIC codes as part of the export work that we do within the broader aerospace segment. How do we go about resolving that so that we can rally global investment through formal and informal stock exchanges to develop exchange-traded funds as well as aerospace and space sector indexes, which will bring in that bulk capital that we need for this industry?
You sound like somebody who should be having discussions with the ZA Space Inc. It seems to me that as the industry umbrella body that interacts strategically with SANSA and the broader government sector, including the DTI, who really are promoting deeper investments into space, I think the conversation should be happening at that level, or even with our space engineering division, who may be dealing very, very strategically with stimulating industry development to get to that global market share that we all want. It is articulated in the space strategy, and it is one of our mandates. We must deliver against that.
Awesome. Thank you. I don't think there's another question. I would like to thank everyone for attending this event. And importantly, I would like to thank you, Dan, for the presentation. Thank you for telling your story, for making it personal. I think me and many young other people here, we want to hear these stories, stories that allow us to dream and they inspire us to be better. I would also like to say that you can reach SEDS South Africa at sedsouthafrica@gmail.com. That's SEDS South Africa at gmail.com. SEDS South Africa at gmail.com. And thank you everyone for attending. We look forward to having you again at the next event. As I let you go, I will play Go by the Public Service Broadcasting, and I hope you dance your way and have a great evening, friends and colleagues. And as Dan has said, keep dreaming.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Hours into the flight of Apollo 11. It's going quite quiet here in Mission Control. A few moments ago, Flight Director Gene Kranz requested that everyone sit down,